Hello, Sim here, it's been a while. I was pleasantly surprised with the Modern Warfare 2 beta, and yeah, that was a bit of a shock. So, having not had a great experience with MW19, recall the Rage Monster, I was very skeptical when I first heard about Modern Warfare 2. You know, the one followed by Roman numerals and not the original MW2 from 2009? So, MW22. I was definitely not going to be buying into the hype train. We've all been there before. Over-promised and under-delivered. Naturally, I was very skeptical about whether it was going to be another MW19. Reskinned, with new maps, horrible map design, and a camp fest galore. Initial social media tweets didn't sound encouraging. However, I went and dusted off my PS4, downloaded the true open beta, you know, when it became available for everybody to download on the PlayStation, and gave it a go. Now, considering that my PS4 is like the launch 2013 model, the graphics on the whole were not too bad considering the age. And naturally, enemies at distance were a little bit fuzzy, you know, so obviously it wasn't true 1080p, it was an upscaled image, methinks. But the surprise is that it did have field of view slider on it. You know, it was a PS4 with a field of view slider. And I was like, wow, that's a shock and pleasant surprise. Smoke and visibility when firing weapons was definitely an issue reported by all, you know, PS4s, Pros, PS5s, blah de blah. So certainly weekend 1 felt like that white wall of fog with artificial effects making enemies hard to see was definitely kind of like there, and it improved in weekend 2, but the particle effects were still a little bit like too OP. Yes, it might be more realistic, but the smoke and all of this kind of stuff just obscured visibility a lot more. So I'm hoping they dial it back a little bit. The GUI, however, was definitely clunky, very clunky, not intuitive. Definitely not designed for consoles in mind. Maybe for a keyboard and mouse where you can just float your mouse cursor all over the stuff, fine, but on a console it was blimmin' awful. You might think, for example, by sliding the CAS, the sharpening slider, that it would take effect, but no, you also have to enable it. And you would naturally, logically think that the slider would be disabled if the CAS was also disabled, but no, they're not. Skill-based matchmaking, I'm afraid, was definitely present, is not going to disappear ever, and there will always be BS associated with it. It just depends on how strong they're going to make the SBMM algorithm. Hopefully they get the right kind of balance that satisfies the majority of the gaming community, including us COD veterans. So even though weekend 1 I only had a few hours, approximately 6 hours to play the beta when it went truly open, I wasn't raging like I was with MW19. Sure, campers were present, along with some silly speed demons. You would have probably seen the insane movement clips on social media. But I enjoyed the beta enough on the poor old PS4 to actually go and pre-order it, oh my god, for my Xbox, and give it a chance, with the option to cancel post the beta weekend if it completely went south, you know. It's like, oh yeah, oh well, cancelled, you know, but luckily, it did go well. So campers, yes, they exist. And there are some bad spawns, but not that many. And no way as bad as Vanguard on the spawns front, you know, where, you know, the enemies just spawn literally right behind you and just stab you in the back because, you know, free kill. So that's a good thing. What about the positives then? The major plus. And this was the best thing about MW22 compared to MW19 from my perspective, is they got way better map design. Yes, we're back to 3-lane maps. No overwhelming number of doors, windows, indestructible cover. Yeah, you know, so, you know, suiting campers and all that kind of crap. But anyway, yes, there were some doors, but it was kept minimal. And this meant, for me, it felt a little bit more like a traditional Call of Duty. Remember, COD is an arcade shooter. It's not meant to be super realistic and therefore just super campy with one bullet kills and all the rest of it. So the major complaint I saw on social media was the minimap, no red dots, man. And yep, that's definitely going to remain as the case, no red dots. To stop the chasing of red dots. You know, oh, there's red dots over there, let's all swarm them and kill them. But you've still got this anchoring thing when it comes to spawn, so you're trying to flank, get away from what I term your enemy teammates, you know, your randoms who are, you know, fun to play with, maybe not, depends on what you get. And you've done all this flanking, and then the game says, hey Sim, you're away from your teammates, they've just all died, we're going to spawn them all on you, and your flanking that you've been doing to go and flank the enemy so you can shoot them and get some kills and blah 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 has just been completely screwed because we spawned all of your enemy teammates on you. Thanks, game. So I didn't see any forward intel kind of perk present, so understanding where enemies were spawning was kind of like hard, but you're gonna just have to adapt. You're gonna get to know where the path flows and, you know, where the most traffic likely to you know, traverse the map, and use that to your kind of advantage once you've learned the maps. But the UAV is when red dots start appearing. So the encouragement of using a silencer versus no silencer on your gun is kind of like, well, I guess that kind of come down to audio cues. Unless we get UAV spammed, and then you're going to go, well, but then again, you're still going to be up unless you've got Ghost. And the perk system is extremely weird. You've got two main perks you can equip, and then you've got two optional ones that kind of kick in later, like the charging up of equipment kind of thing, but it hasn't been truly explained, so it's a bit of a weird one, but it is what it is. I didn't find it too much of a biggie within the beta. The audio is so much better compared to MW19. Rather than the footstep of an enemy sounding like it's all around you, you know, 360, in other words, you've got no idea where they're coming from and there's no audio direction. Now you can actually tell whether the footsteps are to the left of you, to the right of you, in front of you, or behind you. I mean, it's shocking stuff, right? For those of us who've had expensive headsets and have been used to that kind of stuff since the early days of the real, you know, Call of Duty 4, MW2, MW3. I mean, But the bad and the beta, the footsteps this time were just a little bit too loud. Unlike the previous Call of Duties where enemy footsteps were like silent and they just walk up to you. Or no, they can run up to you and then stab you in the back because they didn't need dead silence. You just couldn't hear them. So these loud footsteps are making rushing difficult. And I'm hoping that they're going to dial back this kind of audio footsteps thing and get it kind of balanced. Dead silence is not a perk. It's going to remain as one of those charged equipments kind of options, just like MW19. And weapon progression. Now that was very interesting. In the past, I was, in the early days of Call of Duty, a solid assault rifle player. That's all I played with. Then I started to mix it up with SMGs and kind of stayed there. So I used assault rifles and SMGs. Now the game encourages you to use all the weapon types due to the way the weapon unlock tree works. And I think that's a good thing because it expands your horizons, and you may find that you like a gun type that you thought you wouldn't. And I know for some, they are not going to like this change, absolutely going to hate it. I know that for sure. You know, you can't please everybody, but it's an interesting change, and I'm not really a person into guns and knows all the ins and outs. But I understand that the weapon unlock tree apparently mirrors real life in the way that guns work. So, there we go. Last Stand is back. You remember that from the MW3 launch? It was like beep beep, you Last Stand. But now the Last Stand seems like pretty useless because you can see them falling down to the ground. You start to see them reaching out for a gun, so just finish them off quick. You know, just put your sights on them and just shoot them, and you'll be fine. Electric stuns are back. I certainly remember those more from like Black Ops 4. But this time, as well as being shocked, you end up starting to fire your weapon at the same time. You can't aim down sight. You just uncontrollably fire your weapon. And if an enemy decides to rush you, and you can use your hip fire whilst you're still firing your weapon, assuming you haven't run out of bullets. Yeah, free kill. It was great. Stuns were way OP. They just lasted way too long. Weekend 1 they were certainly longer, and Weekend 2 they shortened them, but they still felt way too long. So hopefully they're going to get that right too at launch, or finesse it during / post launch. The inflatable decoys, they're going to be used a lot, because at distance or even medium range they look like an enemy, and thus they live up to their name, decoy. However, they have the same stance, so they're always going to look the same, so hopefully you're going to adapt. Oh no, I said adapt. Don't confuse it with the MW19 camper adapt. You're just going to know the position that they are in, and hopefully you won't start shooting at them giving your position away. But hey, who knows? Anyway, on the whole, I enjoyed the beta. I was very pleasantly surprised that I did enjoy it, and thus I ended up pre-ordering it. I recently completed the campaign, and I'll let you know my thoughts on that one in the next video. Until next time, this has been Sim.